Hello again, Ian Stuckey with Mastermind Games here, and this time, Death Marshals from the Guild faction of Malifaux, and these are the last models from Lady Justice's box set. And starting off, Olive Skin 09221. This is a fairly new pot, so it needs more mixing. Now the Death Marshals specialize in hunting undead, using necromancy that causes them to eventually decompose and turn into very much the creatures they hunt. Whoa. And I like to mix up skin tones. So now this kit actually had a couple of variant heads. So while the one guy has a flaming skull, I could have done that on all three of them. I simply chose not to. Unfortunately, some of these are not exactly the best balanced models, so there is a problem with tipping over, particularly on this one right here in the back. This one's slightly better, the last one is nice and stable. And Death Marshals are armed with Peacebringers, which is a 50 caliber revolver with an attached bladed bayonet, and enchanted coffins. And one of the most annoying things they can do in-game, at least to people going up against them, are to use their coffins to bury a model, which puts it out of play temporarily. Which is not that easy to deal with when you're going up against them, but what makes a model awesome if you're using it is often annoying for those going against it. Whoa, gotta watch that. And then 09161 Shield Brown. I'm trying a new camera angle on this video since the last couple, the angle's been kind of awkward. We'll see what this one does. And these overall are some very nice dynamic sculpts. They just have some physical balance issues. And unlike the other two, this one did not have a variant head. With the Flaming Skull Ghost Rider look being the only option. I think I have enough paint to get the job done here. Maybe not. Okay, just a bit more. So what a nice solid coat. Okay. There's one more I can do right this minute. Just need to find the right pot of paint. There we go. Templar Blue 09056. Yeah, I gotta be careful. These blades are very fragile too, and one of them actually snapped during assembly, and I lucked out and was able to find the piece that fell off. And that's gonna have to do. Okay. I'm gonna have to let that dry a bit before moving on. Okay, next. 09257 blonde hair. Not a lot of this. one model just has a goatee. And a mustache. So, getting this facial hair. And this, of course, is the one that is not well balanced at all. Then 09197 Old Bronze. This one is just about shot, but I do have a spare, but I also don't need very much either. Gonna get the lock on his coffin. And just a little bit his bayonet. I think that's the only... Yeah, that's all I need. Just... Again, that particular model, very poorly balanced. It looks awesome, but just has some issue staying vertical. I think this might have been the one that had the bayonet break. Okay, that's all the bronze. And now 09039 pure white. Gonna start picking out some flames. Starting with this Marshals Flaming Skull Head. It wouldn't surprise me if these models were directly influenced by the Marvel Comics character Ghost Rider, because Malifaux in general actually does draw on characters from fiction and literature. There's one character in the Outcast faction named Sue, directly based on the Johnny Cash song Boy Named Sue. Pandora, which will be coming up, she's based off the character of the same name from Greek literature. Samus is based off the Mad Hatter from Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. And then the Gremlin models Bert Jebsen, his pig Gracie, and Wong are all based off characters from the movie Big Trouble in Little China. And I'm not going to worry too much if I hit the wood. It'll be fine. This is magic fire, not regular fire. So it doesn't burn the wood, but it does assumably do horrible things to whatever unfortunate being is shoved inside of them. Okay, that's it for this one. And this Marshal has a little fire coming off around his hand. Again, magic, fire not regular. It looks like his coffin's shoved partway into the ground. Based on how this is going, I may need to buy some new paintbrushes already. I just bought these and they were identical to the last set, but they're not lasting as long as the last set of this type did. It might be making them more poorly. Which, planned obsolescence. It's not good for anybody. And the poorly balanced one. Though he's got one of the most entertaining sculpts. Looks like he's pretty much surfing on his coffin. Gonna need a little more paint to finish up. Okay. Gonna have to let that dry a bit before moving on. Okay, next up is 09110 oiled leather. Make sure I'm actually in camera here. This is another example of where maybe I should have done a partial assembly and then painted, but pretty much going on trench coat, holsters, and boots. It's also one of the more prominent colors on the model. And his left sleeve is completely covered in the chains he's carrying. Need a little more. Real careful around his jeans. His right sleeve is completely covered in chain. Oh, by the way, on the variant heads for these models, the flaming skulls on this guy and the poorly balanced one are compatible with the hats they have. And got his halter. Okay, just need to get his hat now. Be careful on the underside. I want to get the hat, not the head wearing it. Okay. Being careful around his pants, and also being careful not to accidentally snap off any of the flames on the coffin as I handle the model. And both his sleeves are completely wrapped in chain as well. Got a little too much water, you can tell, because of those black spots where the primer's showing through. Being careful around the face. I'm trying to get the hat, not the skin. Okay, that's done. There's one more color I can get right now, and that's going to be 09089 Cloudy Gray. Can do the stonework on the base. And again, I hand sculpted this Well, I did record a video. Nobody has watched it, so I don't see the point of doing a video if no one's going to, watch it. Like, I can actually paint faster when I'm not recording because I don't have the distraction of speaking. It's also kind of why I tend to stay quiet in these videos, because I spent 20 years being quiet while painting, and talking even to an audience that's only going to see this after the fact, it's a little distracting. I also paint faster if I can listen to music, but that could get me hit with a copyright strike unless I do the music myself, but that is not one of my talents. Though I do have a program that came with this video software for making music. It's something I haven't played around with a whole lot. Okay, and that's as good as that's going to get. So, let that dry, then get the last base coat, and start shading, actually. Alright, last base coat. 09206 Tarnished Steel. And this one's about shot. That might be enough. And this is going on weapons and chains. It's one down. In more ways than one. This is a little tricky right here, because he's not only got chains, he's got flames around this arm. Okay, that's got it. Let that dry and start shading. Alright, time to start shading. Gonna start off with the 09256 Blonde Shadow. Just that back heavy, or is there something on the base itself that's causing this? Doesn't seem to be. Huh. Well, regardless. 09205 Blackened Steel. I think I'm going to have to nickname that one Tipsy. Okay. Okay, I'm going to have to let that dry for a bit. Okay, next up, I think, if I can find it. Here we go. 09109 Ruddy Leather. And starting with Tipsy here. I actually really like the pose here. He's just really, really unbalanced. And balance issues aside, and fragility issues aside, I actually like, for the most part, though there are exceptions, the new poses of the plastic kits for Malifaux. It's because a lot of them are in much more dynamic poses. About the only exception to that is the new sculpt for Rasputina. Don't like that one much at all. Solely because the new sculpt for Rasputina is very passive, and in the fiction she is not a passive character. She's the leader of a cult of cannibals, and has so far managed to hold off the entity, the tyrant, December, trying to possess her. She is anything but passive, and yet the new current sculpt has her pulling her coat around her neck as if scared or cold, and she doesn't feel cold, as far as I'm aware anyway. And again, she's not a passive character, so I don't feel that a passive pose is appropriate. That's my little rant on the topic, but okay, if any luck, that'll be dry in time for me to do the coffin in this take. And as usual when shading, about half paint, half water. Sometimes a little more. And here's where it's going to get kind of funky. Gonna need a little more paint. That should do the job. Being careful not to nick the face here. Okay. Well, it's going to be a bit too wet to do the coffins, but I can at least do the bronze. 09196 aged pewter. Need very little of that. And unfortunately today it's hot and dry enough that this will dry fairly quickly. That is a factor of temperature and humidity. Make sure I'm in camera. Alright. Let that dry and move on in a bit. Okay. Breonne Blue 09055 will get their jeans colored up. No, just messed that up nicely. Let's dilute that with some water and get the towel in there, blot it out. And that's exactly why you need the towel if it runs like that. And just blot it up real quick and dealt with. And 09160 Woodstain Brown. Be careful to avoid the flame details. Plot out where that brown hit the white. I just have to touch that up and repaint it a bit. And yes, those are emergency service vehicles you might hear in the background. I live next door to an age-restricted senior citizens condo complex. And there's an ambulance there at least once a week. But I've also heard that the tenants there have to pay their rent like several years, 2 or 3 years at a time, that far in advance, and I do not believe that those are refundable deposits either to family, friends, next of kin, etc., should something happen. There really is a big problem with elder abuse here in the States. Unfortunately, there are also plenty of other issues that need to be resolved right now. And then 09088 Stormy Gray. Normally I do this basing last, but as far as shading the flames go, if that color seeps into the cracks in the flagwork, the flagstone here, that would actually, I feel, enhance the overall look of the model, kind of showing the incredible powers of the coffins the Death Marshals carry. A little bit of the brown seeping into this, but that's okay too. It'll just make it look dirtier, which I base this basing off the slums of Malifaux, slums quarantine zones, which, as bad as the slums are, the quarantine zones of Malifaux are worse, as they're areas full of undead and never-born other incredibly violent creatures that do not play well with others. Alright, that just leaves the flesh tones and the flames. Actually, I think we can go ahead and do the flesh tones now, at least partially. Give it a shot. Golden Shadow, 09091. And this last minute decision is because of the guy who's got his hand partially in flames there. And that little dot should be plenty. It's just 4 hands and a head on this. That should be okay. Now here's where it might get a little funky. Not with his hand holding the gun, but his hand on the ground here, and it doesn't quite touch. That's just how it wound up fitting. And then a different skin tone. That's going to be 09220 Olive Skin Shadow. Yeah, depending on the exact pose and sculpt of a model, sometimes I will physically push them into the wet putty to give a specific indentation. Sometimes I won't. And I tend to do a whole bunch of these custom sculpted basing inserts at one time, so I don't necessarily always have a specific model in mind for each individual base. Usually just something that fits into the kind of theme of what I'm actively painting, and this brush is really wearing out a lot faster than I expected it to. Yeah, okay. That's got him. So that's just going to leave the flames to shade in a few minutes here when this dries. Okay. Last shade, 09004 Fire Red. I'm probably squeezing out more paint than I need because I do not wish to run out while I do this. Going a little bit thinner than I usually do. And arbitrarily starting here. Doesn't really matter what order I do these guys in as long as I get them all. So we're just going to blot out as I go along, but I'm trying to get only the Flames are close to it. And while I don't want this on the surface of the coffin, how it's seeping into those cracks there, that is fine. It's an effect I was hoping would happen, actually, as it's showing the fire seeping in and out of the coffin. Making sure to keep the brush nice and wet while I do this. Okay. Alright, once that's dry, I can start the highlighting, and actually, I can go ahead and do a few quick details here. 09037 pure black. Just a tiny bit. Actually, I'm going to switch brushes here. Go ahead and get the gun barrels. A little dot on the tip. That's all you need. I have few good options when grasping this model right this minute. Okay. And then pure white 09039. Start getting the eyes. I'm still trying to memorize it, but I think the whites are called the sclera. I'm not certain if I'm pronouncing that correctly either, though. That got a little too much, but it'll come out when I do the highlighting. Okay, let that dry and then finish up. Okay, shading's all dry. Taking 09037 pure black again. Just going to carefully dot in some pupils. I think there's the tiniest dot of paint for this. Okay. And now olive skin highlight 09222. Golden highlight 09093. Zero 9057 Ashen blue. Again, I'm more concerned with the readily... Whoa! Oh, crap. He fell off his model. Okay, I'll just fix that. I'll just go ahead and finish this first. I'm more concerned with the readily visible surfaces. Alright, we'll just give that a second to dry, grab a little super glue, and fix this really quick. Good grief. To be fair, Tipsy here has a ridiculously small... It only glues on one way. That's a ridiculously small area right here. To be fair, but... Still frustrating that that happened. Alright, so we're going to have to give this a minute to cure, and probably an hour before it's dry. So, frustrating. Incredibly frustrating, but it happens, so I'm going to have to stop here for a bit. Okay, let's try that again. Blonde highlight 09258. So yeah, his foot is glued on there at exactly one point, and that's also the only contact point the model has. Again, talking kind of about the fragility of some of these sculpts. Driftwood Brown 09162. And again, just lightly dusting. Misty Gray 09090. 09111 burnt orange. Alright, well, hopefully he doesn't fall off his base a second time. Okay. Run 1. 09207 true silver. Gonna need a little more paint. Just a dot, though. Yeah, this particular sculpt is actually substantially bigger than the other two. I don't know if that's an intentional thing or a production glitch. Zero 9198 tarnished brass. There's just a little bit of this. That little dot should be plenty. Oh boy, I gotta watch that. And I don't know if you're hearing that, but that is another emergency services siren. I can't tell if it's police or ambulance, but this is an unusual amount of activity for my neighborhood. Okay. And then 09006 fire orange. Let's start with one of the other guys first, give him a chance to dry. It's a bit wet. Make sure I'm in camera here. And another storm's coming in. It's been a stormy week. Actually, stormy couple of weeks. And can hold off shutting the window for a little bit. And then 09039 pure white. Just a tiny dot of this. Just going to get the skull portion just a bit. Not a whole lot. In fact, that's enough right there, actually. The last thing is going to be 09003 Blood Red. And like these other videos for this box set, I'm going to be doing 2 coats of this, but the second will be off camera. After all, I don't want to bore the audience to death, which I'm pretty sure I've come close to a few times with how long these are, but I've also said I want to show the complete or a near complete process of this, and this hobby is not recommended for impatient people in the first place. And the red is a completely arbitrary color choice, because I feel it goes with the faction as a whole. He's going to be particularly tricky. Don't think I've ever mentioned it, but what I also do after everything is said and done is I varnish these models with a matte spray varnish. That's an absolute necessity. It helps seal the paint and prevents chipping, though plastic models are much less prone to chipping than metal ones are. So, and that's pretty much it aside from another coat of the basing. The Death Marshals from the Guild faction of Malifaux. Next up are going to be a few War Machine Hordes videos, and until then, I am Ian Stuckey with Mastermind Games, signing out.